Picture this. You've just applied for a loan, and out of nowhere, you get denied. Naturally, you call the bank to ask why, right? But instead of giving you a clear, actionable reason, they hit you with the chillingly vague answer.
They just say, well, the algorithm decided. So obviously you push back. You're asking, okay, what specifically hurt my chances? What actually tipped the scale here? And you're met with total silence. Because here's the truly terrifying part. It isn't some corporate secret they're keeping from you. They're silent because literally nobody, not even the bank itself, can actually tell you what happened.
Welcome to this explainer on what we call the black box problem. It's something that happens every single day now. It's this bizarre situation where modern machine learning models act astonishingly accurate but completely opaque, all at the exact same time. Like we know exactly what data goes in, and we see the decision that comes out, but everything happening in the middle, it's just completely dark.
Now, the real danger hiding in that darkness is the illusion of accuracy. We absolutely love to look at high-performance scores and just assume the machine must be an absolute genius. But we're completely ignoring the fact that a high score doesn't necessarily mean it learned the right lesson.
Let's say a model hits 90 or even 95% accuracy on a test set. I mean, that sounds fantastic, right? But if nobody is actually looking inside the programming, it could be learning something completely, fundamentally wrong underneath. If you aren't verifying the why behind an AI's answer, you have absolutely no way of knowing what kind of monster you might have accidentally built.
So this brings us to a really crucial concept, interpretability. It's not just about how often a model gets things right. It's about having the ability to understand exactly why a model makes its predictions and what specific data it's actually paying attention to. Because without interpretability, you are flying completely blind. You're putting your trust in a system that you literally cannot audit or defend when things inevitably go wrong.
To see how this can turn into a massive practical disaster, let's look at a real-world test. Way back in the 1980s, the US Army trained a neural network on 100 forest photos to spot camouflage tanks. They used 50 photos with tanks and 50 photos of empty forests. In testing, it hit near-perfect accuracy. It seemed like a huge success, only to fail completely the second they put it in the field.
So why did it fail? Well, researchers dug in and figured out the model hadn't learned to spot camouflage at all. It turned out, by pure coincidence, all 50 of the tank photos had been shot on cloudy days, and the 50 empty forest photos were taken on sunny days. The model had just learned to detect the weather, not the tanks, and nobody caught it early on because, hey, the accuracy looked perfect.
This brilliantly illustrates the core issue here. Building an AI model without interpretability is kind of like hiring a detective who always names the right suspect. But he gets there not by looking at the evidence, but by reading the police chief's face. Sure, he gets the right answer, but for entirely the wrong reason, which leaves him totally lost the second the chief leaves the room.
This incredibly dangerous reliance on unexplainable systems is exactly why regulators finally had to step in. It started with the EU's GDPR, creating a legal right to explanation in 2018. Then we got a massive wake-up call in 2019 when the Apple Card faced huge gender bias claims, purely because nobody could explain how it set its credit limits. And all of this has culminated in the 2024 EU AI Act, which now legally requires meaningful explanations for high-risk systems.
Which brings us to this final thought. If you cannot explain your model's decision, you don't actually have a decision. What you have is just a guess wearing a lab coat. As we hand over more and more of our financial and medical lives to these algorithms, we really have to ask ourselves, are we actually willing to stake our futures on a guess that we aren't even allowed to understand?